Hi, welcome to Take 5, a daily Bible time study in the New Testament by chapters. Today is March 20th and we're in 1 Timothy 5. Keep yourself free from sin, 1 Timothy 5, verse 22. 1 Timothy 5 starts with describing good relationships within a church, but quickly takes focus on regarding the definition of widows and how the church is to treat them. Do not sharply rebuke an older man, but rather appeal to him as a father, to the younger men as brothers, the older women as mothers, and the younger women as sisters in all purity. This is not given for Timothy specifically, but with how everyone is to treat one another, the key idea being with respect, particularly in regard to their age. Older men and women as parents, younger men and women as brothers and sisters, but the younger women in particular with purity. While attending a men's Bible study a number of years ago, a verse was brought up from the book of Job that is made very clear in the NLT. I made a covenant with my eyes not to look with lust at a young woman. The violation of this verse is extremely evident in our society. Younger females are not held in esteem or respect, nor are expected to hold their looks or virginity in honor of waiting for marriage. John sums up all sin under three headings: the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the boastful pride of life. The lusting for the satisfaction of fleshly cravings leads off the verse in categorizing sin. Paul moves on to take a lengthy time in discussing the proper treatment of widows, as he says, who are widow indeed. This being defined in verse 5 as one who has been left alone, meaning she has no family to take care of her. She must be a woman of faith in God through Christ. As Paul says, she has fixed her hope on God and continues in entreaties and prayers night and day. The church is to take care of their own, particularly widows. The last portion of the chapter picks up in verse 17, again dealing with the leaders of the church, since that is the primary subject of the book. Paul begins by charging Timothy to make sure the churches financially take care of their pastors, especially the ones that work hard at preaching and teaching. The reason for making sure to financially care for pastors is so they have time to devote themselves to prayer and the ministry of the word, which is the role of the overseers as defined in Acts 6, verse 4. Interestingly, the creation of the deacon body was particularly with regard to the need of ministry of the widows of the early church. Paul is encouraging for the church to make a commitment abundantly in taking care of their pastor so he can have liberty to concentrate on prayer and Bible study. Physical ministry, the ministries of the church are committed to the deacons. Following that are words of warning regarding the receiving of criticism of their elder. It was to be carefully weighed out and presented to him if found true. A minister is not to be treated with partiality or bias with regard to sin, even though they're an overseer. Sin is sin, and the sinner is to be rebuked in the presence of the church members, so to give fear of sin. Furthermore, the laying on of hands for one to be a minister should not be done in a hasty manner, for the individual may actually not be ready for such great responsibilities as carried by a pastor. When I was ordained to pastor, I look back and can assure you of my having not been ready for the role of leading a church. I didn't have the Bible knowledge or spiritual maturity for the responsibilities expected of me. Paul warns, do not lay hands upon anyone too hastily and thereby share responsibility for the sins of others. Keep yourself free from sin. The errors, poor practices, or sins committed by the man hastily ordained to the ministry are shared by those who didn't dig deep enough into the life of the one being said ready to pastor a church. In regard to sins committed by elders of the church, but which can easily be said of all, some sins are quite evident by those who commit them, yet others are able to keep their tracks well covered. Of them, Paul says they are the ones whom people say, "Oh, I would have never thought that of them." Good is good, bad is bad, and people generally see the truth that is behind people's intents and actions. God told Moses to warn the Israelites, "Be sure your sin will find you out." God has ways that He can make sure of your sins being exposed, creating embarrassment and judgment. Thanks for being here today. Now may God's grace and peace be ours as we seek to live our utmost for His highest. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye now.